שלום לכל ישראליתים, בוקר טוב, לאתה אשר יש נפי צריך אותנו, יהוה ברוך אתה ולמשפחה גם. גם זקן אסף בנמי קריספין לוי. אני רוצה לדבר איתך על תורתך. Here the elder Assaf Benami Crispin Levi from Yishuv Israelite of Pereira Barreto. I would like to continue with you the study of the Torah. We stopped at the item number 101. It's a long text, and I divided in two parts, and we read in the former study until the verse 22, and now we are going to continue. Okay, and I would like to thank you for your attention and for your prayers for us. Well, let's go there, okay, and let's read Vaikra 13, Vaikra chapter 13, verses 22, verse 23, the continuation of the item 101. Anyone with a spreading skin disease is ritually unclean, leprosy. Well, let's go there. Vaikra 13, verse 23. But if the bright spot stays in its place, it has not spread, it is the scare of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or when the body receives a burn on its skin by fire, and the raw flesh of the burn shall become a bright spot, reddish white or white. Well, then the priest shall look at it and see if the hair of the bright spot has turned white, and it appears deeper than the skin, it is leprosy broken out in the burn. And the priest shall pronounce him unclean, it is a leprous infection. But if the priest looks at it and sees there are no white hairs in the bright spot, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the priest shall look at him on the 7th day. If it spreads further over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It's a leprous infection. But if the bright spot stays in its place and has not spread on the skin, but has faded, it is a swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is the scare from the burn. And when a man or a woman has an infection on the head or in the beard, then the priest shall look at the infection and see if it appears deeper than the skin, and there is thin yellow hair in it, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an eruption, a leprosy of the head or beard. But when the priest looks at the infection of the eruption and sees that it does not appear deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shoot up the one with the infection of the eruption 7 days. And on the 7th day, the priest shall look at the infection and see if the eruption has not spread, and there is no yellow hair in it, and the eruption does not appear deeper than the skin. Then he shall shave himself, but the eruption he does not shave. And the priest shall shoot up the one with the eruption another 7 days. And on the 7th day, the priest shall look at the eruption and see if the eruption has not spread over the skin and does not appear deeper than the skin. Then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his garments, and he shall be clean. But if the eruption spreads further over the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look at him and see if the eruption has spread over the skin. The priest need not seek for yellow hair, he is unclean. Well, let's meditate until the number 36. Well, as I quoted before, when it was a suspect of leprosy, the first thing that the person or his parents or his relatives or relatives, they took that person to the court. And it didn't matter if the person, whether male or female, the court examined it. It didn't matter if it was the genital organs, no problem, because the Kohen was ordained by the Eternal One to make that. And precisely, we can see that the Kohen examined it, this scar, this burning, the infection, okay, in the skin, and they examined it carefully, and he did according the Yahweh's laws, and he declared the person unclean or clean before then Yahweh. It was a suspect of leprosy or leper. The person was taken out from the camping, and he or she stayed there, like Miriam's case when was in the desert. She stayed out of the people, and until she was cleaned or she was cured. Well, then all of this passed by the Kohen, because the Kohen was risen up by the Eternal to make these things. Unfortunately, nowadays, we have a substitution by the doctors, by the judges, by the nurses, that it's wrong according to Torah. We are going back to the Torah, and because this was Kohen service, priest service. Well, and continue with that. I made a sum up of this, a summary up of this. verses 37. Then the priest shall look at him and see if the eruption has spread over the skin. The priest need not seek for yellow hair, he is unclean. But if the eruption appears to have stayed and there is a black hair grown up in it, the eruption has healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Then it depended of the color that was in the skins, body skins. If it was yellow, the person stayed in observation. And if it was totally white, the person was leprosy, because the leprosy was spread out all over the body. Okay, the yellow color was a starting of this leper. Well, but if the eruption appears to have stayed and there is black hair grown up in it, if there was black hair, there was a hopelessness as well. And when a man or a woman has bright spots on the skin of the body, white bright spots, then the priest shall look and see if the bright spots on the skin of the body are dull white, it's a white spot that grows on the skin, he is clean. And when a man loses the hair of his head, he is bald, he is clean. And if the hair has fallen from his forehead, his bald on the forehead, he is clean. Then when the hair started falling, okay, and the man was examined by the coroner, because it could be a leper, okay. And when there is on the bald head or bald forehead a reddish white infection, it is leprosy breaking out on his bald head or his bald forehead. And the priest shall look at it and see if the swelling of the infection is reddish white on his bald head or his bald forehead, as the appearance of leprosy on the skin of the body. And the priest shall look at it and see if the swelling of the infection is reddish white, the color reddish white, on his bald head or his bald forehead, as the appearance of leprosy on the skin of the body. He is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him unclean without fail. His infection is on his head. As for the leper who has the infection, his garments are torn, and his head is uncovered, and he has to cover his upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. He is unclean all the day he has the infection. He is unclean, and he dwells alone. His dwelling place is outside the camp, like I said before. Well, we can see that the leper today has several kinds of leper: the Hanseníase, the vitiligo, and the others that is spread out in the person's body or person's skin. But if you keep the commandments of the Torah, the Eternal One will get you free, no problem, because the Torah is Chaim, Torah is life. Try to investigate the commandments of the Eternal One, because the Eternal One didn't leave religions, nor Christianism, nor Judaism, nor Islamism, nor philosophy or religions. He just left his Torah. He just left his Torah. And he is going to charge of me and of you the commandments of the Torah. Like it's written that in the judgment day, all of them that didn't observe, didn't keep the Torah, and this man was thrown out in the lake of fire. In the lake of fire. Well, then this man leprosy, he was put out of the camp, and he or she lived there, out of the society, because the leper was a contagious sickness. Contagious sickness. Then this man, the Kohen, the priest, declared his man impure, unclean. And this man spoke as well. I'm unclean. I'm a leprosy. Now, in these days, and the man cut his hairs, okay, and he stays bald. It was a fashion now, but in that time, okay, there was just the leprosy, the leper man or leper woman that did that. And the bald man, and it turned away fashion among the artists, among the football players, among the humanity now. Well, and as for the leper who has the infection, his garments are torn. His garments are torn. And his head is uncovered, and he has to cover his upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. Then he himself says, I'm unclean, I'm unclean. Okay. He is unclean. All the days he has the infection, he is unclean. He is unclean, and he dwells alone. His dwelling place is outside the camp. And when he was תודה רבה לרסים לב שלך, אני מודה אותך, מודה לכל החיים אשר השתתפו אותנו. Shalom. And I would like to leave my banking account if you want to help us in this project of missions, to take the Torah and write down the Yishuv Israelite banking account. A banking account number 1406433, variation 51, saving. Bank agents 044035. Thank you very much for your attention. Yahweh bless you and your family. And Yahweh Baruch Ata v'Ramishpahaga. Shalom ad Yom Ramishich Rabah. Shalom.